All right. Very good. Okay. So, a couple things. One is I realized that um, when we're doing a live shot like we are right now, when we make a recording, I post it. I've set it up so it's called an unlink or public link, so that whether y'all have the link and then you can join it. Um, but what I didn't realize is that when I set that up, and like this one today is an unlisted link, which means only the people that have the link can see it. When it gets posted to the website, so like after we finish and I click done, it gets uploaded to YouTube. Okay. And when that happens, apparently YouTube changes the visibility to, and I didn't realize that. So there's a whole stack of videos that I got to go in and change the visibility status. So some of the links that were posted up before, you get the error. This isn't available, whatever it is. It's there, and I'm going back through now and changing those links up, which is nice because that's all I got to do is change the link. It's not like I have to re-upload it. Yes, sir. It depends upon if Bob's question is what do you put in the search box to find some of my videos. YouTube's algorithms, as far as they set up their search, is you can't just search T.W. Smith's playlists. I mean, channel, right? So if you type in Tai Chi Chuan brush knee, you're going to get everybody's brush knee, even if you're on my channel at the time. Um, Usually what I've been trying to do to better organize things are toss them in playlists. So if so you'll find that there's a Tai Chi Chuan playlist, beginners and advanced. There's a Bakwa playlist. There's a Shingi playlist. So on YouTube, my channel there, those things are there, and then also on the website. So um, if you if you're looking for something particularly, that's all I can tell you right now. Unless you probably type T.W. Smith brush knees or something along those lines. Uh, Well, some of the new stuff is exactly what I was just saying. Those things are private and it's not going to come up on the list. So, but I was working on it some yesterday afternoon, so it should be better now. What else was there? Um, One of the things with your practice too, and I had a couple of things I wanted to do with a few of you, but I'm gonna do a couple things with all of you, right? And some of it's just a clinical piece. We'll use the phrases like wellness or martial arts for health, or and which is kind of a, I want to say a misnomer. I mean, there's really no martial arts for health in theory, right? I mean, it's like there's just not. I mean, if it's kind of like it's martial arts or it's martial movement, right? And you can have martial movement and have no idea or practice application or understanding thereof it. But that does that now you've just kind of walked on this side. The way Sifu Chin explained it to me was very simple. It's like when you're driving down the road and you see that big yellow sign that says the road divides. Okay. And so you got the yellow sign, and here you are coming up the road, and then you see the sign, and the road does this and does that. It divides. And he said, and he asked me one day, he said, which side of the road do you want to go on? Because when I started my he asked me, why do you want to learn Kung Fu? And I said, I want to get to know myself. Well, after about 2 or 3 years of good daily practice and pushing and working, I felt pretty good about knowing myself. And he said, well, now you're at this phase. Which way do you want to go? He said, there's a whole wellness and clinical piece this way. He said, there's a whole martial piece this way. Now, all my classmates had no interest in the wellness piece because they were, fighting in, seventh group, third group, Rangers and things like that, are Delta Force guys. So they were there specifically for the martial pieces. And they wanted nothing to do with learning to roll around on the ground or, learning all the secret chi spots and things like that. Uh, and so I said, well, I think I want to stay over there, especially if I'm going to be sparring with my classmates. I was already tired of getting my ass whooped, right? So I was like, I think I want to go this way. He said, well, you don't have to worry about it. He said, because eventually, if you stay with me long enough, you'll pick up this side too. But you can go this way and never learn the other side. Okay. And so that's kind of that lesson with you all as well, that you all have decisions to make in your training. And sometimes you may change that decision on a daily basis, right? Like I'd like to learn more of the martial piece, or I like to, and I'm hurting like a big dog. So I need, like Tara's sitting over there, just getting your health back, get your wellness back, so that you can practice the martial pieces, right? It doesn't matter. When my knee was busted up, I was the same way. So decide how you want to practice and work it, because when we talk about the thing your martial arts, there's a few things that will always hurt your martial arts, right? One is convenience, the second is comfort, the third is the illusion. Yeah, my martial arts is great. Yes, as long as you're on a matted floor and everything is set up for you, yes, your martial arts is great. You get up here on the stairs, or you get XYZ on a concrete floor, or you take away the rules that you're abiding by, all of a sudden your martial arts doesn't work anymore, right? That's okay, you know, but you have to be aware of those illusions so that you don't think that that's the reality of your martial training. That's why that saying, most criminals are better than a brick than you are ever going to be with your martial arts. If you don't practice, that's exactly the truth. Okay. So, a few things that can always help you, right? Good diaphragmatic breathing. I'm sure some of y'all have seen some of those devices, respiratory trainers. Like it looks like a mouthpiece. You put it in, and it increases the resistance and things like that. And they make it sound like it's new. I was using those back in the '80s with my pulmonary patients. Little blue device, and you just change the intensity. But they work. That's why they're paid for by clinics, and insurance a lot of times will cover the cost for them because they work. But a respiratory trainer will help you improve your functional capacity even when you're not feeling your best. So you can sit in a chair on your butt, but still maintain a level of internal strength by using something like a respiratory trainer. They're 15, $20 on Amazon. You use it 3 days, 3 times a day if you want to, right? Takes you all of about 2 minutes, but it will help you improve your diaphragmatic breathing, both your expiratory and inspiratory uh, uh, breath patterns, right? And that improves functional capacity. And if you ever have to have a clinical problem, a medical problem, one of the first things the doctor is going to recognize about you is whether or not you have a decent functional capacity, right? And if you don't have a decent functional capacity, your treatment will be adjusted accordingly. You won't get the most assertive treatment that they can give you if your functional capacity sucks. Okay, because you won't make it. And that's why they have to adjust the therapies. I'm telling you this because this is just part of the reality of not taking care of yourself. Okay. Uh, so if you don't have a respiratory trainer or you don't want to carry one around, I get that. I don't carry one around. I mean, I got one in my bag, but I don't break it out that often. Sometimes I just keep it close enough in the car. So when I'm riding back up here or going back home, I just toss it in for a couple of minutes as I'm riding down the road and just get in some breath training as I go through. But a lot of times y'all may see me doing my posting. So one of the things I want you to practice is we're going to practice an inspiratory breath training before we get into the Tai Chi Chuan. Okay. So when you're sitting, when I'm doing my posting, a lot of times you may see me here. Okay. Where I try to sit a little deeper. You don't have to. You could be in a chair, you could sit on the table. Right. All right. And from here, what you're going to do is you're going to breathe in full and just let it fall out of you. Right. So it just, okay. When you breathe in, pull it in quick and fast and just let it fall. Right. And then get into the repetitions of it. Now, be very aware that it's very common to get lightheaded. Okay. As that oxygen starts spinning up into your bloodstream, it's very, very likely that you're going to go, oh, could be after 4, could be after 9, could be after 12, right? You may build yourself up to do about 21 breaths, but let's just say, let's shoot for 9. Okay. So you'll practice on your own, but I want you to watch me first. Okay. See how my body flares up and it just drops and it's okay. Ready? Go. If you start to get lightheaded, just pause it and go back to a regular breath. But let yourself, get lightheaded if it happens. When you hit about 9 to 12, just take a break. Okay. Did anybody get a little tingly? A little Gallagher's going, yeah, me. Yeah. Full. Yeah, full. Whatever you can get. Okay. All right. I didn't see y'all. Did y'all handle it okay back here? All right. So, if you do that and you go through 3 rounds of it, usually what I'll do is I'll go till I'm lightheaded and then I'll just pause and just go back to regular breathing till everything calms back down. Just in the clinical phase, what we might a phrase we might use is homeostasis, where I feel like things are back to normal, right? And then I do it again, right? And then go back to homeostasis and then I do it again. Okay. Now, if you're concerned, like Zach asked me a question about your cardiovascular fitness and things like that, right? If you pay attention to yourself when you're doing your posting, different versions, different exercises, different breathing patterns. That breathing pattern that you just did right there, when I do it, my heart rate increases about 30 beats above rest. So usually I'll be bumping up between 95 to 100. Well, actually, it's closer to about 30 to 40 beats above rest because I'll hit it pretty hard. And my resting heart rate's about 60, sometimes 56, 60. So, that idea is that, cardiovascular fitness has nothing to do with how fast you run. It's about how much your heart and cardiovascular system can handle. That's why the breath work improves functional capacity, right? Yes, muscular, using your muscles. Well, where you're sitting here, you're using muscles, right? You're sitting and working. So be aware there's a lot of different ways to approach it. And when you're practicing martial arts, you want to be versatile if you can. So there's nothing wrong with a power walk. There's nothing wrong with walking your bakwa, right? See, if we change to get on our asses pretty much, because if he caught you over there like jogging with your earphones in, he'd just throw you out of class. It's in his time because your body's over there doing one thing while your mind's doing another. So, if you want to walk and improve your cardiovascular, walk your bakwa and walk it quickly. Walk it with the rooster step, walk it with the lion's gait, walk it with the mud sliding step. Most of the time when y'all are walking, it's very casual. Nothing wrong with that. But you can improve upon it if you're looking for better gains during the amount of time. And I'm big on my time. So I got 40 minutes to do this, and we're going to be intense. I'm going to be intense with me unless I'm hurting. And then I adjust it accordingly. Okay. Right. So all this makes sense. And I give you some ideas and food for thought, help address your question. Okay, good. All right. So the next thing we want to do is practice a little bit. Same thing we did on Tuesday. Okay, so you two particularly, and you were here, right? So y'all may have to help me a little bit on this work. So in a lot of times in form, and I'm gonna come back to the where we are right now in the form, but a lot of times, particularly in Tai Chi, we have this movement, and one of the reasons about in Tai Chi, it uses more of like a whip-like power. Okay. And the ability for you to move, and there's a part of the form that you'll see this, what I call short step. And then in this particular upper body technique that we'll get to in a moment, we have uh, an upper body whipping with the short stepping. Okay. So the short stepping in this case can go through a number of patterns, but in this case, we have pushed forward, then we are going to half step up and come back into an empty stance. Remembering that in Tai Chi Chuan, most of the time when we are doing things, we have what is called an empty step. You have the empty step toe up, empty step toe down. Okay. And they're usually indicators of what you're sensing. Okay. And we'll explain that here in a moment just as well. All right. So you're here, you push forward into your bow stance. Okay. Then you take your half step and then it's toe up. And by toe up, it's not toe up. See, that's toe up. But see how this leg is locked, this leg is straight. I got no movement. But right here, now I look like I can do something, right? And if we're doing martial arts, we need to look like we can do something, right? Right? If you're not worried about it, practicing it for good health, I can do it just like this. Beautiful. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely no power and no way to get any. Okay. So we want to try to make sure that we know what we're doing. And that's my goal. You choose what you want to do. I have no problem with it. But when you start asking me about martial arts, and I'm like, well, you won't, you need, I've talked to a couple of it. You need to train like you want to do martial arts, not imagine that you want to do martial arts. Okay. So let's do that one more time. Push forward, keep your body down, half step down. Good. Any questions about that? Okay. A lot of times, is there a stick? There's a stick right there by your right hand, Gallagher. Thank you. All right. I used to use rope and about anything else I could get my hands on. Okay. So, when I get into and I'm trying to find out what am I going to do? Well, the nice thing about using a stick or a rope is that it adds height. I used to use the tennis court line, which was great because it gave me a line. But the problem that y'all hear me? Pick up your damn feet. I don't want to see that. And if you want to know why, I want you to walk over there today and practice your 48 right over there where that creek bed is. There's nothing but about 200 roots exposed after that last rainstorm, right? If you're walking around in the dark and you're sliding your feet around or anywhere else on uneven terrain, you won't pick up your feet. You'll have that lum fu, right? We don't want that. Igor step. Igor step. Igor step. So if I'm sitting here and I push forward, I'm looking for this. Did you see how yes? I put the stick behind my halfway mark because I don't want my foot to do this, right? I don't want to do that. Okay. I want to do this. Why? What's that footwork pattern teaching you? The balance. That's true for about all of them, but good shot about all of them. Pull in the back leg that you get. What? How you do that in charades? You getting warmer, right? Okay. All right. The main thing is that in this stepping pattern, and I like for y'all to learn what am I doing and how can I learn to interpret. It's one thing to read a book, but if you don't know what the hell the words are telling you, then what what are you getting from it? Okay, so when you're practicing this, the footwork tells you a lot about what's happening with you and in this case, the enemy or your opponent, right? And when you see this, you can tell that you have advanced into them. They are right here. Okay. You do not have time to do this. They're right there. And in some cases, come here, Karen. I love using Karen. If y'all haven't met her yet, this is Karen. All right. And I don't think she could hurt a butterfly or anybody else for that matter, except for maybe Ryan when he upsets her. Right. But the idea here is that we're going to pretend that her hand is her. Like I'm engaged, I'm in her. Right. Put a little pressure on me. Okay. Now, if I'm afraid about what getting ready to happen, keep the pressure on. Okay. If I try to do the short step, I mean that long step, right? I literally can't because her pressure is taking me right off. Now, if I put the pressure on and now you have the two mules and I do my short step,
Yeah, then I turn.
can you feel the difference? Okay. So when she's applying the pressure, if I do anything, like if I want to transfer my weight and sit back, well, now she's just taking me with her. Okay. Or yeah, she's just pushing me over. Right. And if I take a long step, I end up just being bowed out. Okay. So again, the footwork pattern is telling you push in, short step, keep going. Or in this case, your pattern, come back one more time. Okay, is that you're going to short step, you're going to push in, short step, and knee her, for example, right? In the form or kick, right? So a lot of times in the form, when you see toe up, it's usually telling you that you're going to be trying to either get in or work your lower body, work lower body. Okay. So in this case, I could stay in and pressure it and try to get in a kick after I push it here and try to work. I can work on that, right? Or I can just try to advance some more. Okay. But that's the sensation you want to imagine that you're working against, that you have something here. You don't have time for this because she's right here or they're right there. Okay. And so let me just qualify that a little bit. Part of the reason that you practice posting, whether it's, you're doing the what we call the mind scene work. You're imagining yourself on a mountain, you're imagining yourself on a raft, you're imagining yourself at the beach, is so that you exercise what? Ding ding. Look at you. You're practicing imagining developing the strength of your mind to reach into the resources that don't exist and you can make them exist for a few moments. Y'all have heard me tell you this before. Sifu Chen when he would hear things, well, this is kind of boring. Well, boring is just a sign of imaginary stupidity. If you're bored, that means you have no imagination and you're not trying to exercise it, which means you're lazy, right? So when you're working on things, you're not doing it just so you can be the perfect raft exercise, right? It's so that you learn to work your imagination and you can create sensations and create feelings inside yourself that will eventually probably exist and you'll have to deal with it. Well, in this case, you start off with pleasant imagination and then you work in more specific. That's why we all of a sudden, one day, I don't know if any of you may have, will learn what is called the three leopards practice, which is 100% imagination and 100% scary as shit. I've had students literally like pass out after a minute. Okay. But the whole thing is the process. So when you're doing this exercise, you can imagine pushing in and feeling their presence and that you're going to try to continue with your work. Okay. So if I stand up, boom, I'm gone. Okay. If I take too big of a step, I'm gone. I've got a moment where I feel the pressure and I'm going to just beautiful, Karen. Okay. Do that a couple of times. All right. Short step, push in, short step, and toe up. Get that knee so it feels like it's ready to trigger out or trigger up. I'm gonna get a little swallow of water. I get so animated. That step's too long, Karen. Yep. Yep. Go ahead, get in your bow. Okay. In this case, don't pass that stick. Darn stick. All right. Keep on going. Okay. Avoid hopping. Okay. The only thing perhaps even worse than the what Gallagher had mentioned, the shift pivot where I bring the foot up and then I shift back. Well, again, you have no time for a shift pivot, right? Because by the time I shift my weight here and put this foot down, Karen's already shoved me over. If my step is too long, I'm over. And if I hop, it's over because I got no root to the ground, right? I mean, that's why when you see a basketball player go up and he's jumping and somebody else just pushes or fouls a little bit, they end up in the cheap seats. Why? Because they're flying. Well, when you're hopping is nothing but flying. So if I see you doing this, that's a hop. What you're trying to do is have two strokes, but they got to be so quick. 1, 2, right? This one is the most, this is your power stroke because you got your root here and you have a split second to get your root back. A lot of times you can practice that by changing it and lift up, right? Bam, you'll see me practice it like that, where as soon as it comes up, bam, I'm trying to hit here as quickly as I can, but I can't hop. That's better, Gallagher. Just do the short knee. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I see your rear step's too long. Way too long. Okay. All right. Do the other side. If you haven't already. All right. Come here, D'Agostino. You're good. Practice. All right. Go ahead. Practice. All right. Now, don't hit me now. I didn't bring my cup. All right. I'm just going to go light. Go. Better. Is that sometimes having the texture? Good. Good. Do it again. Good. No. Here. Yeah. There you go. Good. That's better. I think your rear step is a little long. We can test it. Okay, I'm gonna put a little pressure. There you go. You feel the difference? Now it's almost like you have to. When you feel that pressure up on top, it's almost like you have to slide pressure your body underneath it. All right, because I haven't shown you the upper body technique with this yet, but I'm trying to make sure.
Yeah, you
Like
can
we
feel how far. You can feel how far you can and can't get.
Okay. Steve said you can feel how far you can and can't go when you have a little bit of this pressure on you. Okay. Because I'm not pushing him hard. And by not hard, by right now, I'm probably pushing him with about 10 pounds of pressure. And that's about all he has on him, but it's enough. Right. So you can practice martial training and not put yourself at risk. Right. It's not always about pounding, just like a football team, practices on sleds and dummies. Because I mean, you want to practicing, okay? So I wanted you to have that in your mind and make sure. Part of the other reason I love doing this kind of work, and I apologize, I know I get excited and animated, but I love seeing people get better. Uh, Zach and I were talking earlier. I don't care how much you might get 1% better on one day and 3% better on another. Who cares? You're getting better. Don't screw up good progress, right? So if you feel like you can use your imagination, I'm sure now Steve has felt that he can use it. And as Zach and I was talking earlier, as long as you keep making a little progress, use your imagination, use your posting, then you can continue to get better forever. You really can. You don't have to wait until there's a new special technique. You can dig into what you already have over and over again. Okay. Now the whipping part, and this is what we talked about on Tuesday. The reason I'm trying to drill into you the footwork is because I really want in the beginning, there's two things that I want to make sure that happens to you as a practitioner. First is that your lower body guides your upper body. Your belly button down guides your upper body. Now, for 99% of most of us, that is not how we work. By the time I get you, you have already trained yourself that these are the masters of your universe. And anything that happens needs to be here. And if it's not here, it's here, right? This is even worse, right? So these are the masters of your universe, and we have to rewire you. This is your rewiring process, right? Both in your mind and in your body. We rewire from right here, right? Your legs, your lower body from belly button down, ideally in the beginning, will guide your upper body. The second thing I'm trying to usually develop with you is framework. Learning to put your shoulders and hips, elbows and knees together. Eventually we'll break them apart, but I can't break them apart if you can never put them together. Right? It's like teaching people to be mindful, but they can't focus. Being mindful and aware is the antithesis to focus and concentration. Because when you're mindful, as compared to concentrated, see how that goes away. I'm great at concentrating, sucked at being mindful. I concentrate, you all disappear in my world, which is great in some ways, but absolutely sucks if you're my son. Okay. So I really had to work for years before he was ever born, thank goodness, to being mindful and aware of the surroundings. So what we want to do is have a good form, a good foundation of the lower body. And then in this particular set of form, we have a whipping to the left, a pulling in, and then I call it basically like a chop or a throw down, put him down. If I'm teaching this in three pieces, I'm gonna do it from different angles. The first is a sweep to my left, okay? And in the old style, in your martial training, this sweeping to the left is what is called a brush knee. Okay. Then I'm going to have the sensation in my upper body. I'm not going to move my legs a lot. I'm just going to shift my weight of a high pat on the horse where I feel like I'm pulling in. Okay. Yes. So in this case, if I'm using Steve, it's going to feel like I'm sweeping him to this side and then I'm going to pull him in to here. Okay. And that's why it's important to, in this imagination, I feel this rotate off of the force, keeping his balance, suck him in. Okay. And then the last part is literally what you want, right? You can stay, hold it here and give him that knee you were just working on, right? You can chop him, hit him. There's a lot of things you can do from there. Personality will take over and how much Steve has pissed you off, right? Right. But the idea is that the upper body is going to go one, hop out, pull it in, two, three. And like that, it could be you're shoving his head, you're chopping his collarbone, could be any number of things. Or you're just going to hold his head there so you can put that knee, introduce his nose to your knee, right? Now, putting those together goes one, two, three. Half step. Notice when I'm pulling in and then out. So that very last ending, he's usually gone by then. Most of the styles of Chinese martial arts that I learned ends with one technique, though it may be 50 techniques. But the technique is very simple. Enemy down. That's it. How you go about it, brush knee, throw, he's down, right? That's what you're looking for in the ending. So when you think about this and you're getting here, you're going down, down, not, he's done. That's what you'd like to have. If not, you just keep going, which is part of the reason that the toe is up. hmm Give it a little bit. Yeah. And do that again. Get in that posture. Okay. A lot of times when you get into it, you'll have a little bit of ascites. Okay. Well, yeah, it should feel like that is going down this way rather than going out this way.
Mhm.
Okay. Because what happens there, Steve, is when you do that, right? If you get into this action a lot, about a quarter of your power is going that way, right? And so when you get in here, when you're practicing, what you want to do is have this feeling that it sits here, not there. Good. Zach, remember what we spoke about earlier, all right? This is on the side, okay? All right, that's a lot of material, even though it's one simple place right in the beginning of your Tai Chi 48. So now you have the ability to sit there and have some texture to it. So you have that, single whip, sweep, out here, right? You don't have to connect more. I think the other thing we spoke about on Tuesday night, which was very good, and part of the reason that uh, walking hands is so good, okay, which is something Bader had mentioned that he really enjoys and misses sometimes, is that there is no next. There is no next. I don't want to hear and then next. No, this is all you have. I gave you 3 crayons. Don't pretend like you got a blue. There is no blue. You got green, red, and yellow. There is no blue. Okay. For example, so you give me the best you can with the crayons I gave you instead of pretending that you're going to, oh, yeah, and then there's somebody coming over here and I'm going to do this, all that crap. Okay. Focus. Okay. That's an exercise of focus on what you got. And Seafood used to call it this is all you have training. We're going to work on something for the next little while, and you're going to imagine this is all the kung fu, this is all the martial arts you have. How well can you use this piece instead of pretending like you're going to add another piece or another piece of paper to your art program, right? Focus, right? So that's the main exercise for you all today. And again, just a simple part of your, it doesn't matter where your hands are. I'm imagining I feel a pressure pushing me on my left side. I'm gonna try to sweep it over. Do that slow. Okay. With my half step, my body is feeling the rotation of my upper body is guided by the half step. Yeah, that's beautiful, Bader. Yeah, that was beautiful. And then from there, the pulling in is with the knee, right? Boom. And then get rid of them. All right. Good work today.